All right. Thank you. Hopefully you guys can see me. I can't see you on this wonderful platform. But again, thanks for the introduction. My name is Brad Christus. I run the enterprise solutions team here at Celtra. And today I'm going to kind of talk to you in this tech lab about transforming our creative process, our creative production workflows, and talk you through what we've done with some of our customers. Just kind of a high level, just some talking points we'll go through in the next 20 minutes. Talk about some of the creative challenges we've seen with some of our customers with their in-house teams, talk about this emerging concept of a content gap, talk about how we've kind of helped fix some challenging workflows around creative production and freeing up time to be more creative for that design excellence. Take you through the creative automation platform that we have here at Celtra, and then actually show you kind of a demonstration of that. Feel free to pop some questions in the chat inside the platform. I can't see those. However, right, I'll circle back after the session and reach out to those of you that if you do have questions. Just to start, right, a couple different challenges that we see with some of our customers. And the first challenge is no time for ideas, right? So we've 86% of the folks we've talked to say they have, their teams have, or the creative teams have challenges around the time that they devote to that creative process to create that design excellence, right? And typically that's because of the high volumes of content that they're having to create inside of that. The second challenge we typically see is kind of that speed to market, right? Again, balancing that design excellence in the high volume. 91% of the folks we've worked with and spoke with, right, want and need to achieve faster time to value, right, or faster time to market with the content that they're creating. And sometimes it's a challenge, regardless of how they measure those types of things. And the third challenge I think we've all experienced as consumers, right, and 66% of the folks we talked to mentioned this, but I'm sure it's probably more than that. Consuming stale content, right, or repetitive content, right? Just think of all the places we visualize, where we've been targeted, right? If it's ads or promotion or social posts on different pieces of glass, on different applications, right? You've probably all seen the static piece of content that comes across and it kind of follows you through your journey, right, around the interweb, right? So again, dull creative is a very big one where customers are looking to refresh content, right, and to rebrand some of those things. So those are just a couple challenges we see with our customers when it comes to, kind of building more efficient creatives. And with that, right, there's this kind of content gap that emerges, right? And that content gap, if you kind of take a look at this X and Y axis inside of it on the slide, and from past, present, and future, and you look at the time, you'll see this kind of hockey stick curve happening, right? And that's due to some increased content demands. And those are caused by new products that are coming out inside your enterprise, new campaigns that you have to support, content refreshes, like I mentioned before, multiple channels, omni-channel, right? Whatever we want to call it. There's so many channels out there, and persona-based targeting based on those channels that you consume is a massive one. How do you get content down to those things? And then, as always, testing, right? What's working where? A, B, C testing. And how do we kind of build content around that? So again, not a lot's changed over the years, right? Production resources are kind of similar, arguably have increased or decreased, but with that, we see this kind of concept of the content gap. So how do we fulfill all of these needs for these new demands and the content that is needed around that? And with the content gap, there are challenges with inside production workflows or creative production workflows. Again, I didn't build this slide 10 minutes before this presentation. However, right, I'm sure we all can agree these are similar experiences, right? So again, if you take the concept of ideation, right, to consumption of that content, right, you follow this journey, right, you have an approved concept that you're working on, you're inside your creative tools, you're doing copy, paste, repeat marathons, right? And then you start to do, once you have that content built out, you start that kind of creative review process, regardless if it's manual, right? Or even if you have a tool to do so and it's a little bit automated, you're still exporting stuff, you're sharing stuff, you're sharing PowerPoints, you got feedback from email, from Slack channels, from Teams channels all over the place. And then you get it approved and you want to go out and distribute that stuff. And then lo and behold, you know that a placed graphic, whether it's a logo or a product shot is kind of messed up, right? And or there's a typo with inside the copy. You got to go all the way back to the start of that kind of workflow and continue this copy paste repeat marathon before it goes live. So it's a challenge we see a lot of with some of our customers, and with that, that's why we've built a product offering within inside of our platform called Creative Automation. And the Creative Automation was born in the cloud, right? So again, having the ability to do production in the cloud with real-time updates allows you to go to market or speed the values much faster and speed the market. The second part that you'll see today, and I'll show this in a demonstration, is kind of that whole creative review process. Regardless if you have a tool or not, living inside of one platform where you can build the production creatives and then have review and approval and feedback, and that whole creative review process built in allows our customers to be more efficient around that stuff. And then it's one thing to build the creatives, to review the creatives, and to approve those creatives. The next thing is, how do I distribute those, right? And you'll see today with inside the platform that we have different distribution mechanisms, regardless if it's ad trafficking networks, right, or social sites, and so on and so forth. So if you think of the Creative Automation product within inside of our platform, some 3 simple use cases that we typically see with our customers, right? So if you look at the top left piece of content, right? So this piece of content can come from your digital asset management system or your asset repository, where you're told to build out basically a particular asset with this type of copy using these types of product shots. We can take that within inside the platform, which I'll show you here shortly, and we can start to build different variables and build a template around that. So in this instance, where you see localization, I'm able to templatize or put a variable around the copy and the call to action button within inside of here, and then feed it through a data feed that translations that are inside of there. And then through the magic of our creative automation tool, we'll be able to then create different variants based on those things. So we went from 1 asset to 7 assets very quickly. The other use case is, kind of audience-specific variants. Again, if you think of all those channels you need to support, you think of the testing, right? Being able to build a templatized asset with inside that aspect ratio and start to tag different things that you want to interchange, regardless if it's copy or product shots or talent shots or things like that. We can start to build that out within a templatized structure and then give it a different data feed to then create all these different variants that you can unleash into the wild around that. And then the last one is formats, channels, and sizes. Again, as a creative person, right, you're always asked to build out these different formats, different sizing. Within inside the actual platform itself, you'll see some of the mechanisms we have and the integrations we have into some of the formats that are out there. So if you got to go put something out on Insta, right, Facebook, and Twitter with some static content, you'll be able to select those predefined aspect ratios and files. And with that, we'll carry down the furniture and the other things that go with those social sites. So again, we support static content, video content, as well as animated HTML and interactive HTML. So that said, I'm going to take you through a demonstration of the platform. Like I mentioned earlier, feel free to pop some questions in the chat, and I will reach out to all of you after this if there's any questions. So this is Celtra's Creative Automation platform. It's a project-based platform where you can kind of come in here and start to collaborate with different folks. As you see, there's many different projects I'm working on at the moment. I can add different types of folks with inside of here. We support any directory services you have, internal and external, around that. So I'm going to go into a particular project file, and in this case, I'm going to use campaign activation. So with inside of my project file, I can create design files. So each of these could be a different design that I want to push down to different distribution sites. And picture me getting a media plan from a customer, right, and or internally. I would want to go out and create a new design file. So I'm going to click on this, and you'll see all the channels that kind of currently are supported out of the box. And for this particular one, I want to do a Facebook image. I'm going to do a static piece of content and some animated HTML. Animated HTML. I'm going to say next steps. I'm going to give it a name. We'll say demo. And we'll add some metadata. And all this is configurable. You can pull in metadata from different sources as well. It'll go out and create that particular design file for me. Now, a design file consists of 3 things. You have templates within inside of there. You have a data feed that you can inject inside different copy, different images, different things of that nature. And then the creatives that actually will generate from merging these 2 things together. So once I've created my design file, I can go into the actual design file and start building out templates. And again, we support all different types of media. You'll notice it looks Adobe-esque, right? Again, we want to make it as least invasive as possible. This is not meant to replace tools like Photoshop or After Effects or things like that, or Figma. It's meant to enhance those, to kind of scale out those products that you have. Now I could go in here with inside of all the wonderful features we have and build this out from scratch. However, I'm actually going to go into Photoshop and pull out my creative that I've been working on. And again, this is typical use case where our customers live inside the creative applications that they have, and they'll leverage the tools that they have. Again, this is Photoshop. I can come in and manipulate the content that's within inside of here. You'll notice that there's multiple layers that I've had placed graphics inside of here. And then we also have a plugin that will export out this particular piece of content into that design template that you saw earlier. So if I click this on, it'll start syncing with inside Celtra's creative automation platform. It'll create a Celtra-friendly piece of content where we can then pull this stuff in. The idea behind this is that you can work natively with inside these tools, and then as you progress or check it back into your digital asset management system or asset repository, you can then hand it off to our creative automation platform. So once I've done that and it starts to sync up, you'll see it come in and start to upload all the files and the content, and you'll notice it's preserved all of the layers that were inside of my Photoshop file. So now I can start to manipulate this piece of content with inside of actually Celtra in our design environment. So again, features and functions similar to what you would see in Photoshop, where I can start to manipulate and maneuver and build out my template. So kind of just to recap, right? I was able to build out a design file, start building my templates, use my creative applications, preserve that information, pull it in, and start to design these particular templates. That said, I'm going to go back in the interest of time. I'm going to go back to one that's already pre-built, just because we have a few more minutes to go through this. So using this template, I'm going to go take a look at this particular file itself. So again, similar to what you just saw where I pulled it in, you'll notice that there's 3 different kind of products I'm creating: Facebook image, animated HTML, and static content. With inside animated HTML, there's all sorts of fun stuff you can do. You can build out complex animations, very simple ones. You can, with inside the actual tool, there's features where you can start to modify things like cropping and sizing, as well as the typography. We can load in custom fonts. You can do similar things that you would do with inside of the Adobe suite with inside of here. So again, the whole point of this is to start templatizing some of these things so that we can inject all these variables into that. So I'm going to go into my static piece of content. And with inside of this piece of content, when it loads up here in a sec, when it loads up, and you'll see that there's multiple pages, right, or multiple templates that I have with inside of here. So this is the 300 by 250. This is the 728 by 90, and you can see they're different. And for each one, I'm building a template. So this 120 by 600, I have all of my layers. I have all the things that I want, and I can start to tag different things in here that I want to become a variable where I want to replace these things. So now I can start to build a templatized components with inside of this actual creative that I've created with inside the design template. So once I tag all the things that I potentially want to change, right, I save my design file, and then I'm going to head back to my project and go into my data feed. And once I go into my data feed, you'll notice it has a spreadsheet-esque type of view. And each one of these rows represents a creative for each one of those templates I created in the design file. So if you look at this plus sign, from the left of it is all metadata that I can pull in from different data sources and start to categorize what I want to do and how I want to do it. In this particular setup, right, we have 3 different messages. So we're going to do some ABC testing, we'll call it. So in this particular row 1, right, these are the things I tagged in my template. I want to be able to change the background color here, the foreground color here. I can start to give it different variables of what I want to see. The logo is one of them, as well as some of the text that's in there and the call to action. And again, this could be as many or as little as you want. This content can come from different types of systems. There's some pretty cool features with inside of here that you can do with text formatting. From a copywriting perspective, superscript, subscripting, right? We can, have it avoid line word breaks, insert different lines and things like that. But just to show you in real time, demonstration, I'll put an exclamation mark on here that we want to change kind of this data feed. So the system knows I changed it, I save it. And once it's saved, I'll go back into my design file to create some more creatives. So the system knows, is intelligent enough to know that something has changed. It's saying, hey, you need to refresh your creatives. I'm going to go into my creative section here. And this is where it's going to show me all of the creatives I've created based on this particular design file. And what you'll be able to see is that there's 135 different ones. So again, that's taking the design templates. So I created 7 different statics, 1 animated HTML and 1 Facebook asset. And it's applying each row of information to those 9 different templates. Hence you have 135. So based on the change I made in that data feed, I'm going to say update. The system is going to tell me exactly what it's updating. So I updated 1 call to action on 1 row. So it's going to affect 9 different variants that I've already created. I'm going to say update. And through the magic of the cloud, it's going to go update. And it's going to reload my creative assets. And you can search for the ones that you updated. We can search through metadata. You can start to share these and do a bunch of different things from this view. But I'm going to preview all of the variants that I created based on this particular design file. And you'll see it get loaded in here in a second. And as they load in, it'll start to give you a preview. These are my Facebook pieces of content, and you'll start to see the different variants that it creates with inside of there. I'm going to go ahead and filter out based on size. We'll do the 120 and we'll do the 728. I'm going to hit apply and look at these 30 different creative variants that I had. And you'll notice that the exclamation mark is now in this particular variant. So if you remember, right, 1 row was applied across all of these different templates. And then each one of those rows created each one of these variants that you see here based on this particular template that we're using. So it's real easy to scale out based on how you tag these things and what variables you have inside of there. And just to show you, again, preserving that row of information, the color, the call to action, and things like that. On top of that, once you're inside of here, you can also start to do some creative review where we have commenting, we have annotation. So again, I pinged one of my coworkers, Yukaya, to kind of have a look at this, and we can start to collaborate with inside the actual platform itself. Again, this will integrate into Slack, right? It can integrate into email, and we can start to collaborate in real time. I can also share this piece of content through a URL to external users, internal users. I can also share this with named users that are inside of here from users and groups, and so on and so forth. So once we've kind of built that template, we've gave it the feed, we've created all these variants. How do I distribute this out? So what you'll notice inside of the actual project file is that not only do I have all my creative projects, I have a distribution mechanism. So with inside of that mechanism, you'll see that there's out of the box integrations into some of the ad trafficking sites that are out there, plus social. So for this particular one, I have Facebook. It actually is back live now with the convenient system outage of yesterday. And I can search all of those Facebook creatives that I have, and I'm able to, from here, push these down right into Facebook, into the ad manager platform. So as it gets pushed down, I can open this up in Facebook, and you'll see it get pushed down from there. So again, creation, distribute, or creation, scaling, and distribution. As you see this come through, give it a second here. And you'll be able to see that the asset gets pushed down live, and there it is. And then I can start to do kind of my budgeting, right, my attribution, and all that fun stuff from the media buy side. That's the creative automation platform. And as I go into this, just a couple key takeaways. I know I got like 1 minute left, right? So if you repeat it, right, automate it, right? So the concept of having design excellence and high volume is usually there's takeaways on each of those. With the creative automation platform, we give you the ability to have that cloud collaboration to increase that speed to market and not sacrifice the design excellence with high volume, right? These things can work hand in hand, and we can allow the creative folks to kind of focus on being creative. That said, I appreciate everybody joining in on today's Tech Lab, right? If you want to get in touch, my email's on the screen. Feel free to ping me with inside the platform. Check out our booth inside the platform as well. Also check out LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer any questions that folks may have. I appreciate you joining. Thank you.